Good morning and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today I'm talking about the silent treatment. When your teenager refuses to speak with you, they're being all dramatic, slamming cupboard doors, their door, or maybe they literally are just talk to the hand, no communicado. And the rejection and knives through the heart that feels like as a parent, if this is you or you know someone in this position, you are in the right place. Today, I'm going to talk about removing communication, the disconnection of dealing with a child who is choosing no communication for various reasons. We'll get into that, okay? I'm going to share a little bit about the science of this and give you some strategies not to make it all better and tie it up in a bow. No, not that. But some strategies at least to navigate this and understand your teenager's perspective and what they're trying to create, but perhaps not, or maybe in the only way that they know how. If you have experience with the silent treatment with your teenager, the talk to the hand, or perhaps like no response, type a heck yeah. Give me a comment or a me. Let me know that this is sounding familiar to you. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach. I have been working with parents of teens for the last 15 years to help them end the painful disconnection, emotional blow-ups, stressful silences, to create relationships based in healthy relationship dynamics based on trust and respect. I was a very troubled teen, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story around this. And now that I'm a parent and I work with these parents. And so, there's some of you, yes, thank you, that are relating to this. I want to thank you. Lost my train of thought there. Woo! And we're back. If you're on Instagram, at Allie Payne, tap the follow button. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. Okay, let's jump in. So teenagers use the silent treatment for a few reasons. Okay? Anger for a teenager is difficult to express other than physically, or a yelling, screaming match, or retaliation of some kind, like, oh yeah, you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you. Teenagers' brains, their intellectual, their prefrontal cortex and their frontal lobes are not fully developed, and I mean that both physically. Their brain is physically growing more of them, that's densifying them. Their brain is also developing all new software with which to run them. So we have a bit of an issue, okay? It's a bit of a challenge for them to begin to express the far more complex emotions and feelings that they are experiencing, far more complex than they were a child. Because of their brain development, because of this brain development, they are also highly reactive and emotionally centered creatures. They tend to feel things in their whole body as a visceral thing, kinesthetically, not just a feeling that is filtered somewhat by their intellectual brain, because that is not yet developed. So I wanted to say that just from the perspective of teenagers who use the silent treatment are often deemed as being oversensitive, dramatic, overdramatic, attention seeking. And I want to caution you. I want to caution you on using these labels, whether they are verbalized or simply as judgments in your mind or with your partner in conversation. Because those labels and those judgments may be the one thing in your way of actually reconnecting with your teenager. So I want to caution you with that. I understand if you were raised the way I was raised, in the suck it up buttercup, I'll give you something to cry about generation. You didn't do feelings like that. You got a smack upside the head and probably been grounded for some time. Or maybe worse. So when your teenager has messy emotions, and the way that they are doing them is the silent treatment, please remember this. All behavior is communication. All behavior is communication. Your teenager is attempting to communicate something with you by not speaking or doing the door slamming, the plate slamming on the counter, the eye rolls, the huffs. They are attempting to communicate something with you that they do not intellectually possess the capacity to express in a way that you might be more willing to hear them. That is not an excuse for disrespectful behavior, but it certainly is a scientific, you're welcome to go research it, reason as to why teens use the silent treatment. Okay? That's the physiology and the silent and the brain functioning as to why the silent treatment becomes an option for a teenager. They may also use the silent treatment when, if or when, for whatever reason, your teen feels as though they have attempted to communicate something very painful or hard or challenging with you, and they have not felt heard, seen, they've felt dismissed, diminished, brushed off, and that feeling is building in them, that experience of sadness, fear, etc., stewed nicely over a warming element, begins to boil, as most pots would. And when they continue to attempt their rudimentary efforts to communicate something challenging with you and then continue to feel unheard, your teenager feeling as though they have exhausted the efforts that their brain is capable of in that moment, they will move to the silent treatment. They have crossed a line of feeling equipped to be heard. That is the teenage version of I'm at my wit's end with you. Now, if you're a parent, you probably have said this too. I'm at my wit's end, like I don't know what else to do. That's your teenager's version of I don't know what else to do. The silent treatment. I'm not saying you're a bad parent. I'm not saying you've done anything wrong. I want you to understand why your teenager is doing this. The silent treatment is actually, there's a name for it in relationship work. It's called stonewalling. Stonewalling is a toxic communication style where one person in the relationship, in this case your teenager, is choosing not to engage. And when the relationship no longer has communication, verbal communication, nonverbal communication is very important as well, but when the relationship no longer has verbal communication, the relationship begins to starve because communication is a relationship's oxygen. So your teenager is using stonewalling, removing themselves from the relationship, refusing to engage. This is why people use stonewalling. Are today's kids different, or is that just a new era? Oh no, today's kids aren't different. They are significantly more stressed due to various reasons, and they are struggling in a world that doesn't know how to support them, yet gives them things like technology, social media, and a pandemic. So are they struggling a whole lot more? Yes. Are they different inherently? No. Stonewalling is used for a few reasons. It's used as a power when I have felt powerless for so long, or any period of time. If I feel powerless to be heard, to express myself, to feel understood, powerless, okay, in my relationship with you, I may move to stonewalling to begin to feel some power. When I feel disempowered, I will use stonewalling to feel empowered. It's still toxic. It's not helpful. It is a reaction to my experience. Okay? Stonewalling is a reaction to an experience of feeling disempowered or hopeless, powerless, in order to feel some sense of control, some power. Okay? It's not inherently wrong. It's a strategy. It is a toxic strategy, but there's a reason for it. So it's to feel powerful. Stonewalling is also used when people feel unskilled to participate. They no longer feel skilled to participate in the relationship. Okay, period. It could be because I don't know how to respond to you, so I just choose not to. I'm afraid to hurt your feelings. Ghosting. Kids do it to each other all the time via text, social media. They don't know how to respond, so they just don't. That is stonewalling, or called ghosting. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't know how to handle what you've just said. Emotionally, it feels like flooding. It's too much. A lot of reasons. I just don't feel skilled to participate in a relationship, so I will stonewall. Okay? So it is also a defense mechanism. It is a way that I put a cocoon around myself to feel safe. Feel safe from what I might be hearing and receiving, but also feel safe because when I stonewall, and I'm not participating in the relationship, I don't need to address my own fears, sadness that is boiling up into anger, etc. So it's a protection mechanism, okay? Is this helping so far? Type me something in the comments, what you're getting. I know I'm kind of we're diving in today. All right. That's why teenagers will use stonewalling. And again, I cannot say enough, all behavior is communication. Now, some teenagers, okay, good, you're tracking. Thank you for letting me know that. If you don't, or just please let me know. Some teenagers will hold a grudge for a long time. More emotionally centered teenagers, that's a different personality style, by the way, not a moral judgment. Teenagers may hold a grudge. I was recently speaking to a mom whose teenager has refused to speak to her father for 18 months now. Refused to engage in conversation with her father for 18 months, to the point she refuses to be in the same room. She will not eat dinner with them. And this is extremely painful, of course, as a parent, to have your child refuse to engage with you, and sometimes you don't know why. It feels like being held hostage when you don't know what you did, and so it may likely trigger your own anxiety of you've done something but you don't know what, and so now you are pedaling hard to earn your teenager's love back. That is also toxic. That is a version of codependence, that your teenager's behavior somehow defines your value and worth as a human being. That is untrue. That perhaps you are now begging and pleading your teenager to tell you what you did wrong, just begging and pleading. That also doesn't work. It feeds the power imbalance. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm glad this is relatable, and I'm sorry that this is where you're feeling you are right now. Yeah. So you begging and pleading your teenager to tell you what you did wrong. Just tell me what I did and I'll fix it. Just tell me. We don't need to do that either. Because it perpetuates the power imbalance that your teenager is attempting to create as a defense mechanism to feel powerful, because they were feeling, so they were feeling on the bottom for whatever reason. And I don't mean in relative terms of authority. Authority is necessary in healthy parent-child relationships, okay? They were feeling on the bottom from a personal perspective, a relational perspective. I don't feel heard. I feel diminished. You're not listening. From that perspective, okay? So what do? They stonewall, and they give you the silent treatment to attempt to flip the power, right? So now they have the power. So what doesn't work is you pedaling hard after them. Just tell me what I did was wrong. Just tell me what I did was wrong. What can I do? How can I fix this? How can I make it better? Guess what? You're just perpetuating what they created. Stop it. Look me in the eye. You have inherent value and worth regardless of what your teenager does. Your teenager's behavior does not define your value as a human being. That behavior comes from codependence, which 80% of our generation is estimated are codependent, because we were taught that when someone else was unhappy, aka your parents, when they were angry, they were upset, they were sad, it must have been something that you did. So you better think about it and make it right. That is the thinking that is perpetuating you now chasing your child. So we had a power thing this way. You may not have realized, again, you might not have done anything intentionally harmful or hurtful to your child. You might have been doing the very best you could, and you're a good parent. That's all good. They were feeling what they were feeling, and they don't understand how to effectively express. And so they flip the power. That's all. Okay? So that's what the silent treatment does, and that is how it often impacts parents. Now I'm running around, I feel like crap, I feel rejected, I feel deeply hurt. How could you do this to me? Anger isn't often a response to the silent treatment. After everything I've done for you, I do all these things. By the way, the rest of that speech, that's all a guilt trip. Has a one-way ticket. It's often not a return trip. So the guilt trip isn't going to work, although I understand as a parent, that is also a defense mechanism to try and get your teenager to get the heck back to the table and engage. So you shame and guilt them into getting back to the table to engaging. That also won't work. I see your heartbreak. Your teenager or your child refusing to have a relationship with you for 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 weeks is excruciating. It is like ripping your heart out, well, first of all, with a kitchen knife, ripping it out, taking a meat tenderizer to it, and then driving over it a few times with a vehicle and leaving it on the middle of the road as roadkill left to be eaten by ravens and crows. That's kind of how it feels when your teenager doesn't want to engage with you. And I want to tell you, your feelings are real. All of them. You are allowed to have all of your feelings of deep pain, sadness, despair, anger, rage, all of them. And I highly encourage and support you to get help in some means to effectively process those emotions. away from your teenager. A counselor, a therapist, a really good friend who isn't going to dish a whole lot of useless advice. A journal. Take care of yourself first, or the rest of this won't work. That's going to be my short, sweet little part of you take care of you, okay? Remember that your value is defined whatever you believe it is. Your value is not defined by your teenager choosing not to engage with you right now, as hurtful as that is, okay? I also want you to remember that your teenager may be giving you the silent treatment. Hear this. As a vote for themselves, not a vote against you. The silent treatment is often a coping mechanism. They are doing what they know, the only thing that they know, to cope with something. So when you constantly perceive it, okay, as a vote against you, that's another way that you will perpetuate the power imbalance. Sometimes your teen is saying, this is not working. I don't feel safe. This doesn't feel healthy. I don't know how to participate in this, and I need space from you. I don't like you right now. I need space from you. And that is what they are saying with the space or the silent treatment. They're not saying it in a really healthy way. I understand that. I just want you to be open to the fact they are taking a vote for themselves, not necessarily voting against you, because that's making it all about you. What they're doing is about them. Right, wrong, or otherwise, it's about them. So let's stay over there with the focus over there on them while you take care of you and not make it about you. There's a difference. There's a difference in taking care of you, honoring all of your feelings, finding a healthy and constructive way to process them without making it about you, okay? Now, let's move to what do you do? Again, if your teenager is refusing to engage with you and they're giving you the silent treatment, the talk to the hand, all of the angry or perhaps sensitive, dramatic, nonverbal cues, so long as you only see that and respond or react to just that, the door slamming, the eye rolling, the all of that, you are missing the point. You are missing the point. Because I'm going to tell you really loudly and clearly what that actually is. That is a cry for help. Don't mistake it for anything else. That is a message, a large white flag up the pole that says, I'm drowning over here and I don't know what to do with all of this. I feel alone and scared and abandoned, and I'm trying to get you to notice. I need you to notice. I need it to be safe and okay for me to be emotionally messy and not feel emotionally abandoned, brushed off, or labeled in my mess. Do you still love me even when I am messy and hurt? And I don't know how else to deal with this. So be careful, because there is a line where the silent treatment does need to be respected. You can say, I respect that you don't want to engage with me right now. I respect that. And I want you to know that whatever you're feeling is okay, and I love you. See, when your toddler used to throw a temper tantrum, okay? I actually just watched a video on this morning. When your toddler would throw a temper tantrum, what they needed was for you to help them to regulate. Now, in the process of you helping them to regulate, they might be hitting, kicking, screaming, crying, running away, trying to get away from you, then coming back to you, then doing it all again. That's them getting through really big, messy emotions that the toddler brain does not know how to process or regulate, and you being, I got ya. I love you. This is hard. It's messy. It's okay. It's not that it's okay to hit you or kick you or any of those things. It's okay to have boundaries. But your teenager's silent treatment is very much the same. It's the same. And they still need you to know. And this is hard as a parent, because as a parent, you're like, okay, well, they don't want to talk to me. So, okay, I'm just going to let them be over there. I don't want to upset them further. And so you respect their space by stepping back. And inadvertently, of course, I know you don't mean this, it can feel like further emotional abandonment to your teen. And if right now you're like, okay, Allie, but they've done a whole lot of crap. Now they're giving me the silent treatment. Why is it still my job? Why is it still on me to go and fix this when they are doing it? And I get that. That's very valid. It's very valid. Unfortunately, you are the only one in this relationship with a fully developed brain. And that's why I'm talking to you right now. So, your teenager needs to know it's okay if you want space. And they also need to consistently know, without badgering or disrespecting their need for space, they need to consistently know that you love them, that whatever they're feeling is okay. And when they feel ready to re-engage, you will be there. So whether you text them those notes, like once every 2 or 3 days, I mean, it depends on the situation, how volatile it might be. Maybe you write that on a note and you slide it under the door. And I can tell you, they might not like it. Because remember, you now have a teenager who's not coping well. It's not different scientifically than a toddler who wasn't coping well, but it looks different because they do have a more developed brain than a toddler, of course. So what I recommend are these steps. First of all, look up Dr. Harriet Lerner, Lerner. Lerner, Dr. Harriet Lerner. Dr. Brené Brown talks about her a lot, and Dr. Lerner is incredible in her work in estrangement, mother-daughter relationships, forgiveness. She has 2 specific books, The Dance of Anger, The Dance of Connection. Please read those. She does also have a book on the mother-daughter relationship. And if you're a dad watching this, honestly, just read them anyway. Just read them anyway. It's still very powerful with your children, okay? Number 2, what I need you to do is, her name is Dr. Harriet Lerner, Lerner. If someone could type it in the comments, that would be great. So there's some book recommendations. Telling your teen, hey, whatever you're feeling is okay. If you want space right now, I respect that. I want you to know that I love you. And when you are ready to feel ready, I'm here to listen. Okay? That is how you avoid emotional abandonment. Thank you so much, Betsy. That's how thanks everybody. You guys are awesome. That is how you avoid emotional abandonment. Respect their space, but you let them know, I still love you, I'm here. I still love you, I'm here. But do not badger, okay? Yes, and if they're never ready, I'm going to talk about that in one moment. So, unfortunately, there's a lot less books on father-daughter relationships, which is why I recommend just reading these. Like, the science is still there. The relational science is still in the book. So please just do that. That's step 2. In Dr. Harriet Lerner's books, she talks about these love notes, which is what I call them. Love notes when you're in a stage of no communication or estrangement. She talks about these love notes, that there are 2 keys to these love notes, okay? Number 1, they are not about sharing your pain or it's not about sharing that, because that comes across as a guilt trip to your teenager that they need to fix whatever they've got going on, because their behavior, they are responsible for your terror, your very uncomfortable feelings. Okay? So you cannot state anything other than I miss you or I love you. These love notes are not a place for you to process the very real emotions that are going on for you. Okay? That's number 1. Do not do that there. There is a separate place for that. Okay? Number 2, these love notes must be written from a perspective that does not require a response, because that goes right back to guilting. No response required, okay? No response required. So here might be an example, if I have a teenager in my house who's choosing not to speak with me, that I might write them, okay? I might come home from and they have to be authentic, okay? Teenagers have a very sensitive antenna for bullshit. So don't try that. It's got to be authentic. I come back from, a day on running errands or whatever at work, and I send my teenager a text that says, I just drove by the pool today where you took so many lessons and you learned to jump off the diving board for the first time. And I'm really smiling, remembering those things. I love you. And I miss you. That's it. No response required. I'm thinking about you, and this was just I loved having that memory, and I love you and I miss you. That's it. Okay? The frequency of these needs to be measured based on where you feel things are at. Don't go and do this every day. Do not go and do this every day. It will not work. Okay? You could simply say things like, all of your emotions are real. What they need most is validation. Because remember, that might be one of the reasons that they did the silent treatment, because for whatever reason, they were feeling unheard, unseen, invalidated, judged, all of those things. So you could simply say, all of your emotions, whatever you're feeling, is okay. I love you. That's it. No expectation of return. No response required. I cannot state that enough, okay? These love notes are not a place for you to process messy emotions and how much you're hurting. And they are not a response required message. So I hope that's clear. Dr. Harriet Lerner talks about them more in her books, and I will be writing a full article on this, and I will give other scripts about that. One of the third things that you can do is take my listening challenge. I know it sounds ridiculous and I harp on it, but I cannot express this enough. The pain is real. Your pain is real. So is your teenagers. But you're here with me and you have the developed brain. And that is why I wrote my 10-day totally free listening challenge. It's free. Because these skills of listening, empathizing, and validating are not things that we were taught. Not because our parents were evil, not because they were terrible people, because they were not taught either. And now we have this science, and it is fundamentally proven that these are foundational skills for healthy relationship dynamic. Listening skills, empathy and validation, I created a free 10-day challenge. So if you're here on Instagram and you tap on my name and then you tap the link in my bio, it'll say free 10-day listening challenge. If you're on YouTube, you can head over to my website, alipayne.com, and just go under resources. Free 10-day listening challenge. It's right there. These are skills that your teenager needs from you right now. Now, I also want to say this. If your teenager is more of the dramatic kind and doing the eye rolling and the slamming and all the rest, I need you to validate that. Don't brush it off, please, in your judgment or labeling of dramatic. That dramatic is saying, I'm dying over here. I'm hurting. When will it matter enough to you to acknowledge me? And you're like, okay, but they are the one refusing not to talk to me. Okay, again, I'm just going to go back to you're the one with the developed brain and we're here. So let's just move past that. That kind of drama is begging to be seen and heard. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, right? Thanks for sticking with me. When they are dramatic like that, you can say, it's okay to be angry. I can see how angry you are. Or I see how angry or hurt you are. Or it's okay if you're upset with us. I can see how upset. Perhaps be careful in labeling their emotions if you don't know what they are. So maybe just use the word upset. I can see how upset you are. It must be hard to feel so upset and not, it must be difficult. Just validate it. This is the same as them kicking sand at you and trying to hit you when they were a toddler. All communication, all behavior is communication. Acknowledge the drama. Okay? When I hear from parents that my teenager is living in the same house and choosing not to speak to me for 18 months, we have a bigger problem. It may be they feel disrespected, all of these things. So as much as you want to honor their space, you need to make the first move, or at least make a move, because you are more likely to break down that wall. Trying to play the respectful role and wait for your teen to approach you feels to them like more abandonment. So acknowledge the drama. If you see the drama, acknowledge it. I can see how upset you must be. I can see how upset you are. Okay, well, it's not you can label it as unacceptable, but their brain is not fully developed until they're 25. So, modeling healthy communication skills is really helpful. Modeling validation and empathy. How else are they going to learn it? Their brain has the capacity for it. That doesn't mean they have the capability. They don't wake up one morning and get a software CD installed and now they get bloop, now they're upgraded to the next level of the software. No. That's called mentorship. That's what parenting is. You need to teach them. It's you mentoring it. Mentor empathy, mentor compassion. And here's the last thing I recommend. Mentor and model effective emotional expression. When you feel overwhelmed, too angry, too upset to communicate, what do you do? Do you stonewall? Or do you say, I don't know how to participate in this right now, and so I need a bit of a break? Can we check back tomorrow? I just need to be with my feelings for a bit to sort through all of this. Or do you say, that's it, you've crossed a line. I'm not going to talk to you for another week. Is that what you say? How are you modeling your emotions? So this is my last point. You can, if you're on Instagram, you can tap on my name, then the link in my bio, and you can hit free downloads. Hit the feeling wheel, tap that. On that page, there are 2 or 3 short, quick videos and a download for you to begin using healthy, effective emotional expression. whether your teenager chooses to participate or not. Do you love them in their mess? Can you see them in a place of pain and anger that they don't know how to effectively express? Are you going to stand with them with still setting boundaries? I'm not asking you to tolerate disrespect, okay? These are all free resources that I have created because I am so passionate about parents not feeling at their wits' end, hopeless or powerless. And I certainly don't think teenagers need to consistently feel so hopeless or powerless and unheard that they have to continually use the silent treatment as a means of coping. Certainly, space in a relationship can be really healthy. Sometimes it is a really great thing. Not a bad thing. I need a break. Okay, this feels hard for me, and I respect that you need a break. I want you to know that I love you, and I'm here to engage. Now, when your teenager does re-engage, okay, if they re-engage, like I'm going to assume at this point, they're going to re-engage, okay, they're living in your home and they want to re-engage, that's where my listening challenge comes in exactly. I think it's day 1 or 2 of my free 10-day listening challenge because I talk specifically about the whole don't talk to me like that. Because they're full, they're a boiling pot. You're going to take the lid off of a boiling pot. What do you think you're going to get? A whole lot of messy emotions that are probably coming at you. And that's what's in my listening challenge is how to say, I love you. I want to hear what's going on. Your feelings matter to me. These specific words and phrases have crossed my line because I guarantee you it's going to come across as sharp and projected. The teenage brain lacks impulse control and emotional regulation, and they don't know how else to express. So is it going to be the raw feed? I promise you, yes. Is it going to feel sharp? I promise you, yes. So aside from setting boundaries around what you are willing to listen to and what you are not, are you willing to stick in with them through that initial shot of steam when you take the pot off the lid off the boiling pot to get to what is simmering in there? Because if you think it's all going to be a bed of roses, I have a news for you. If you think your teenagers all of a sudden through this silent treatment somehow learning how to super effectively communicate themselves like some Harvard graduate, that's not happening. It's going to be messy. Yes, draw your line. The scripts are all in there. When you let your teenager know that you love them, even in their silent treatment, that you see how upset they are, you send them consistent love notes to let them know, I respect if you want space, and I love you. I'm here to listen when you're ready. It lets them know it's okay to have a process, it's okay to have a break, but you're still there. They matter to you. Even in their mess, they matter to you. That's what they want to know. You know what? I'm not going to answer those questions right now. It's all in my free listening, 10-day free listening challenge. So please just go there, and then check, make sure that you check your spam or your junk mail for hello@allypayne.com. Sometimes the emails get caught up in spam or, junk folders. Okay. So the listening challenge is but the feeling wheel, how you effectively express your emotions, is modeling whether this is going to happen. Now, I do want to address, what if your teenager is still estranged and choosing not to speak with you? Dr. Harriet Lerner talks about this in her books, and these love notes continue. For real. The love notes that I mentioned previously in the video, you just keep doing them with no response required. It's no response required, because otherwise it's a guilt trip. You're either loving them where they're at and saying and processing your own very real experience and emotions in a healthy way away from them, okay? Or, yeah, The Dance of Anger, absolutely. Great book. Yes, The Dance of Anger, The Dance of Connection, and there's books on, she has lots of books on forgiveness, because sometimes you might just need to sit in forgiveness of your teenager, of how they could possibly hurt you so badly. And I hope in that process, you also get curious about why they might have wanted to hurt you so badly. I'm not saying you're a bad parent or that you did anything wrong. I'm saying, are you willing to be curious about their experience and how they experience the relationship or a certain communication or situation such that they felt they needed to do the silent treatment? This isn't about fault or blame. If you can operate outside fault or blame, there's a lot of opportunity for compassion, for listening, for healing, and growth. I'm going to talk more about estrangement going forward. That's a separate thing. If your teenager has chosen to leave the house, no longer lives with you, this is the beginning stages of dealing with that. And if you're in this boat, I want to say you're welcome here. All of your pain, all of your anger, your despair, your hopelessness, I acknowledge it. And I hope that this has been helpful for you in some way. And I want you to know that you are always welcome. I have tons of things in the link in my bio here on Instagram, lots of free resources. I put out a new article every week. You can book a session with me. However it is that I can be of service to you, I would be happy to do that. And in the meantime, I hope that you feel just a little less alone and have some tips and tools to get through this very difficult and somewhat challenging time with your teenager. Again, my name is Allie Payne. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Hit the follow if you're on Instagram, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. I'm here on Insta every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm on TikTok on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And you can always find me on my website, alliepayne.com, and on my YouTube channel, Allie Payne. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.